this, man. This is a very early, very dark longboard ride into the city. Who has a networking event at 7:30 in the morning, man? What the heck? And we made it with shed load of time, boys and girls. Not too bad at all. I thought I was more than half an hour away, but it took me like 20, 25 minutes. And I wasn't even bombing it either, so pretty good going. I've still got like 75% of my battery, so I probably didn't even need to bring my charger. I say that. It's cold, and on the way back, it's mostly uphill. So probably, I think I can do there and back on one battery, but I've got to be more frugal than just like fast mode all the way down, even if I am going at like 60%. The sun is up now as well. It's nice. It's a lovely day. It's really like crisp and cold. It's very cold on my poor little fingers. Look how red they are. Yeah, I'm just killing time a little bit before the networking thing. We get breakfast, which is exciting. Get full English breakfast, but otherwise a bit early, you know. Just taking my longboard up for a walk up this really big hill. It's got to be said, the batteries struggled a little bit more than they used to. I was all right until I hit town, and then I went up Park Street, which is in Bristol, is like a hill in the city centre, and the battery just drained. Like, it basically used all of it. It's called Battery Sag, and it usually happens with like old batteries, or when you're asking a lot from the batteries, the charge just drops dramatically. It's not actually dropping dramatically, but it's like the computers inside it don't really know what's happening because it's not giving enough power through. So yeah, I like took it up there, that like drained the battery, and then I went to my office for a little bit. Why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. I went to my office for a little bit, gave it a bit of a charge so I'd get back with plenty of juice, because on the way back it is mostly uphill. I was going to lunch with someone I used to work with, but he is ill, so I'm not doing that now. I'm heading back home. Gotta be honest, boys, my longboard does struggle a little bit nowadays. I feel like I need to give it some maintenance. At the very least, the bearings need replacing in it, and there's a chance the way that it struggled up Park Street is a pretty strong indicator that the batteries are getting old and or haven't been looked after very well, because it's been off for a long time, just unused. She took the piss at me though for a little bit. She was like, well, you don't even use your longboard much anymore, like jokingly. And I'm like, you know what, I'd buy it again, you know. I'd buy one of the new ones. The new ones look sick, fam. I think what I'd really do is just replace the battery in this one to start with. But yeah, having a cup of tea, and then we're going to get into some grafting. The thing this morning was really good. We had breakfast at this like restaurant bar place. We've been there as a bar before. It's called The Florist, but it did breakfast and it was lovely. And there was so much fucking food as well, because they just like gave out breakfast and then just lined up like extra rounds of toast, extra like poached eggs. It was poached egg. I've never had a poached egg like that before. To be honest, I don't think I've ever had a poached egg out of sight of one being made myself, and I'm not very good at it. But it was like just perfectly round like that. I was just sat there and you cut it and it's like, oh. But I was talking to some interesting people, a number of people who are doing agile related stuff in industries that don't necessarily do them. So one guy is doing like agile development of things that are like traditionally engineering, so like airplanes, which is fascinating. The other guy was doing something to do with security. So it's someone who was doing 3D animation in videos for like products, so like proper taking like a CAD of like a tractor or something like that, or like a big old machine, and then like building it in a 3D so you can build out animation for things like tutorials and like training videos and all that kind of stuff. Like, mate, that's sick. What else? And then there was a couple of other people, another developer who just seemed to be a developer. I don't think he did anything outside of like just being a developer at a company that wasn't his own. I'm not sure why he was there, but anyway. And the talk was about like what is or isn't a good idea, and how do you know whether or not something is a good idea, and then how to like build MVP and an MV, minimal viable business as well. It was really interesting. Yeah, I'm getting a lot at the moment. Like, I was kind of annoyed. I was really gutted that I couldn't have lunch with my tester friend, because I'm like toying with the idea of something, but I don't know how to get. Half of the problem is getting started. Like it's all very well and good getting an idea and like putting it out there, but like getting traction is the hard bit. And I'm like trying to figure out whether or not, bloody ignore it. Like all of the ideas I've got are all people based, you know, and they aren't technology based. So it's not like I can just put it out there. It's not like releasing an app or something. It's being like, well, no one buys it, no one buys it. It's like I need to find people. I need to find like that first person to kind of get the ball rolling. My man, I got it working. Holy shit! Bit of this program that's taken me so freaking long to write, but I've got it. It's integrated together now. Just got to do like minor polishing, but otherwise it's there. I've got a list of things that I wanted to look at. I think I've done most of them by kind of mistake. I wrote that list when I was on the train offline. I think it's to do with like, I've got to do a lot of things to do with deployments and permissions still, but we're there, it works, happy days. Pretty happy with my implementation as well. The only issue is that I'm generating container, like, while I've been debugging it, there's been the state information I'm getting back isn't necessarily helpful. I mean, it might be now I've got it running. Now that like kind of the edge cases are happening less often because the code works, it should be all right. It should be a case of create container, run the stuff, burn the container to the ground, and we'll never need it again. But I noticed some times where if the container already existed and it tried to run, it would return to say it had finished before it had finished. I also have a sneaking suspicion that it's kicking out, either the logs are delayed for me to see them, or it's telling me it's finished before it's finished. So I've kind of got two different ways of knowing when it's finished. I feel like the logs are delayed, to be honest. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the logs were delayed on the way out, and they had to go through some kind of buffer. But long story short, it works. I've got stuff being analysed in the cloud at scale. All I need to do is get the data out now. So based on whether or not it ran, I'm gonna check the file store for results. And then once that's finished, I can start tearing things down again. So I've got like a lot of tidy up stuff to do. But oh my golly gosh, I'm glad that motherfucker's out the way, boys. I'm gonna go for my walk. I need to see if I can source some. I'm just trying to get I've got wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. I've lost my sleeve down my sleeve. I'm gonna head out for my walk. I need to pick up some wholemeal bagels. Laura needs some for the weekend, and Sainsbury's doesn't sell them. Well, at least the one nearby doesn't sell them, so. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was, I think like the chief engineering officer at Intel. He was saying that like how he does work is like all driven around intensity and focus. So what he does is like, he does kind of the tomato, the Pompadour thing of X amount of minutes a day doing one thing. And the key is just making sure that you're not distracted during that time. And that is what I've lost recently. Ever since my meeting. I've really struggled to like focus on doing stuff. So I'm gonna try and stop listening to Spotify. And I'm gonna really try and do the, just connect to that. Hello. I'm gonna really try and like focus again, you know? And I'm gonna try and spend the next 3 days. Today, it's kind of a bit weird doing it now because we're going on holiday next week. But the next 3 days, like really setting out like a game plan, you know? And like organising everything, development-wise, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've kind of come around to the fact that that one meeting doesn't necessarily mean bad things, you know? So yeah, I am like gonna focus on focus over the next 3 days. It's important as well because Laura's at uni, so that on Monday I can nail it down, you know? So instead of listening to music, I've got like, the white noise thing I used to use. I go through phases of using and then not using, and that's what I'm gonna do for the next however long, boys. Otherwise, I am going through the trials and tribulations of figuring out permissions and stuff. So to do things like build an image I've had to create like a custom role. Using just like ACR push isn't good enough. God damn it. So there's like a couple of different roles I've had to do. I've just got to make sure that I can upload things to blob storage. And then I think I'm set. And then I've just got to assign those roles to the right service principals. And then create service principals. I'm basically like focusing on trying to get this function deployed. Although there is one thing where I'm like trying to investigate whether or not I can get meaningful events post-analysis. Which I don't think is an issue per se, but we'll see. There we go, look. Fireworks. Nice and relaxing. You see, I just want background music that's not distracting. And now it sounds like someone else is typing in the room with me. Problem is picking a sound today. I think one of the problems is that I've stopped like tracking what I was doing. Like a couple of weeks ago, I entered the world of unknown to such an extent that I couldn't really predict what it was that I was going to do. So making user stories didn't really make sense because it was a bit more Kanban-y because I wasn't sure how to get it working. You know, it was very like experimental. So I stopped like doing tasks properly, which when I started doing tasks were a huge like uptick in my productivity. And I also stopped like timing my work basically the other week. And I've kind of fallen out the habit of tracking time because I knew I wasn't focusing, so the time tracking was relatively worthless. Like a lot of the things I was doing was all like thinking about stuff, trying to think of ideas, which is a dumb thing to time, right? So I've fallen off the bandwagon relatively significantly, and I'm going to jump back on the bandwagon. I'm not doing the timing now, but I'm just creating user stories for the next thing. Now I've just finished everything off. I'm going to create a user story for deploying it, which isn't necessarily the right thing to do, but I think there's enough things I need to do in that to make that like my first user story moving forward. Yeah, it's good fun. A lot of this stuff is like DevOpsy, so it feels like it's not necessarily something that I would need user stories for, but it's big enough to do, like, you know. So I'm having fun. Feeling more productive. I keep feeling myself like wanting to get distracted, or letting myself get distracted, but then I get like back into it again. So I'm currently writing out user stories and tasks for the next like chunk of work I need to do. But I've got one more little bit of investigation to do around whether or not I can get more information about the container when I publish an event onto the message bus, because at the moment it's just kind of raising an event once it's finished. But I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything else I can do around. I'm basically going down the checklist of things that I'm like, oh, I may need to look at that, may need to look at that. I've looked at everything except tidying up resources, which I can do very late in the day. Firstly, I don't need to do it per se, because everything will be off, so it's not like it'll be costing me money. But then I can do like a tidy up once the thing is, the microservice can trigger the tidy up effectively. Yeah, that tidy up process, and one other thing. Oh yeah, and getting more information out of this thing, and then it's a case of writing the Azure functions that are going to be processing the results and kicking them back to the right microservices and all that kind of malarkey. Living the dream. Yeah, I'm like I say, I'm not so negative about everything at the moment. I don't know why. Because like I say, time has now changed, and that like damning meeting. I'm trying to get more meetings with more people. And to a certain extent, I'm doing this kind of for fun now, but it's the kind of for fun that makes me feel like I'm being productive, and that then doesn't negatively affect my mental state. I'm a lot better at being positive when I feel like I'm being productive. And it feels productive. So I'm kind of letting myself believe it is. Just had an absolute run around the houses, boys, trying to figure out how I was going to. So when you run a command, Azure, sit on the Azure CLI saying run this container, it spits back a result at the end, like a slab of JSON. And I'm like, can I find out what that is? Is it possible for me to figure out at what point, like what that serializes to, like what object that represents? No, it's not. I was looking around for documentation, couldn't find it. Dived through the GitHub project for the .NET Core SDK, managed to find the equivalent in the .NET Core world, found an object that they were using to represent it, and it matches. So I'm like, right, bang, there we go. From that point on, I was able to figure out a strategy for the wait for completion stuff. So getting the information out of it. So if you remember me saying, I think yesterday, I wasn't sure when it was giving me the result back, whether or not the logs were behind or whether or not this was behind. What I can do is go set it to no wait, so that my function will close as soon as it's kicked off the creation and it knows everything's going to be okay. It will shut down, which is good. It will then queue up a message onto another queue, which I'll then use a retry policy to sit and wait for like a max of like 5 minutes, maybe. At that point, I'm also fixing the issue of what happens if I get a container that is running an infinite loop, which in theory I've got protections against, but it's nice to have a belt and braces. That then sits polling the status of the container using the models that I've just sourced out. Then when it's succeeded or failed, it puts a message on the bus to say, hey, someone sort this out, and then tears down the command. Tears down the container, because I don't need it anymore. It can be ripped out. Anything else, it will do a retry, and then after a certain amount of retries, it will terminate the container, and then act as if it failed. Then I have another function which picks up that event, goes into the file store, gets the results out of the file store, processes them, or if it didn't put anything in the file store, or if it failed for another reason, it will kick back that that it was unsuccessful as well. That's all good. Then we're back in microservice land, and at microservice land we are able to update the state in the database, update it to the analysis microservice, and then we can tidy up the file share. Sounds like a plan, Stan. That's a lot. I've got 7 post-it notes of user stories that I want to do. But I think I'm happy with my current one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, merge it all, get it all like ready to rock and roll, basically, code review it, get it all deployed, and then we're going to start chipping through these next bits and do it properly rather than like kind of ad hoc, just aiming willy-nilly at, you know what I mean? It's lunchtime, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to put myself through having to watch Doctor Who. Does anyone else like watch something because they feel like they have to, not because they actually like it? Like the latest series of Doctor Who is trash, dog. The last series was trash, but like the first series with Capaldi was bad. Like they have good and bad series. One of the first Amy Pond one was bad. IMO. Martha, that was bad. Sorry boys who like Martha. So yeah, I get like, I don't know why I still watch it, because I don't like it. I think it's trash. The writing is just hot garbage. The writing is like on par with Suits Series 9 writing, which is also hot trash. But yeah, so, goddamn me. When you're watching Suits, you have to, it's like a drinking game for Series 9. Drinking game on, whenever you hear them say, are you saying what I think you're saying? Or, what do you mean? Things like that, you know what I mean? Like just filler lines that people don't say in real life. So yeah, let's get it going, boys. I wonder if I could cast... Well, no, yeah, I'll cast this to the TV. Watch it in here. And then I can translate it to my Lexus while I do the washing up. I'm so excited. Tea time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a 15-minute break. I need to moisturise my hands. My hands are in that, I'm in dry hand season now, again. It's a real pain in the ass. I've got the function itself to code review now. I've done everything else. This changed, man. It's been pretty big. It's rippled across a lot of microservices. As they've all got to like pipe information out of that one so that that one can get it. So it can kick off the process. And then this one has to then, well, I originally piped some information through like 3 of them and then changed the way I was doing it all. So I only really needed it in 2. Yeah, 2. So I've had to like kind of revert some stuff and put it all back in. We're there now, just got this function to deploy. I've got some interesting questions coming up though, because I'm gonna have a command that goes from function to function. And every other command and event is owned by a microservice. So it is like, what? How do I do that? Do I have a... I guess I do. I just have a C# project inside the bloody function thing, and then build it like a NuGet package. I guess that makes sense. It's funny how things make sense when you say it out loud. Yeah, I am losing momentum a little bit, so cup of tea, moisturise my hands, and then we'll get back into it. I think it's because I'm just doing all the same stuff. Like I said, I'm trying to effectively clear the slate. So I'm clearing the state today now with the code-wise. I'm going to clear the state email-wise, focus on something else next week or whatever. But yeah, I'm thinking of something. I'm just trying to figure out how to get like out there, you know? I'm trying to like figure out what I want to do is I want to see if it's possible to connect with people who work in teams but don't work in a technical capacity, and figure out how they work compared to like obviously software. I know how software is developed. There's all the different methodologies there, and there's obviously all of the agile stuff. What I want to know is what companies think of technology in general, how they work, and preferably if they've interacted with a third party that's worked differently. So a tech company, if they've bought technology from somewhere that's running agile, how do they deal with it? That's what I want to know. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how to get there, you know? Half of the problem with like ideas that involve people is not knowing like how to start effectively. And the problem is that all the people I know are all in the tech world. It's also doing that really annoying thing again where like the house is cold, it's like 15 degrees in here, but upstairs in my room, it's hot AF. And I'm there and I've got like my slippers off, my hoodie's off, I'm sunbathing, literally, you know? Just thought about Beth and Ben. They both work in industries that aren't tech, but I'm like, I don't know anyone who works in a non-tech based industry. I know those two, and I know a load of people in Nottingham. Oh. Let's see if I could organise like something with Beth. They work in weird places though. Just a pain in the ass. And Beth's in like an engineering place, but she's seen a lot of like different things in different areas. Oh. And then there's people like Sean. I could even talk to Sean. I've got to get over like I don't like doing stuff like this. Over like text chat. It's a bit weird like contacting friends like that, isn't it? But we're seeing them on like Saturday. For lunch, for dinner, birthday meal thing. Speaking of which, this video is very long, isn't it? To say that I've only started it yesterday. I must have run a right ramble yesterday, man. So now my code reviews were ready to merge. I am heading out for my walk. I'm a little bit earlier than normal, but I think it's going to rain later. And the next bit is all like admin-y, raising a load of tickets, doing a load of planning. Like I say, we've set up the next sprint. It's gonna be a 2-week sprint, not 1-week sprint. And we're just trying to like just get a nice level play, get my ducks in a row, you know, get my ducks in order. Yeah, let's go for a walk. What's the temp outside, boy? Toasty, toasty 8 degrees. Cool. Oh, God damn it, man. It's been a long week, and it's going to be a long weekend as well, because Laura's at uni, so it's like, oh, my boy. But, I mean, it gives me lots of time to do work, so. The best part as well is that Laura's doing this, like, step challenge thing, which has to get, like, the right amount of steps. A certain amount of steps this month. I had, like, a team at work, and they're, like, 4th in the country right now, at the moment. So they get really, really competitive. I mean, like, first place is unachievable at this point, because it's 6 days in and they're already, like, nearly double them, which is insane. But, oh God, but yeah, that means that, like, Laura's less willing to take lifts, because she needs to get steps, so. Favourite game, boys and girls. We've got the game where you've got to put lids on stuff. First one is a no. Second one, do you put on that one? Go on, boy. Nope. Next one. Da, 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 da. Oh, that's a fit. Next. Da, 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 da. That's a fit. That lid looks like that lid, so it won't fit. Had a productive evening, ladies and gentlemen. I went for my walk, did a little bit more stuff, and then I've like done all of the admin stuff, getting my sprint sorted, getting tasks and whatnot all in Azure DevOps so that I know what I'm doing, and I have a rough idea of how long each thing's going to take and all that kind of stuff, so that I can't cheat myself. You know what I'm saying? Less elegant getting everything in the freezer though. Yeah, so we're ready to rock and roll for the next couple of days. Oh well, next couple of weeks actually. Although I didn't task up absolutely everything, but I went through all my user stories and made tasks for them. Yeah, so good times. We've got a long weekend. Laura's at uni, so I'm getting work done. We're going out for a meal though on Saturday night, that should be good. Yeah, getting up early, as per, get stuff done. I'll catch you later.